Hey everybody, this is Marcia Riner, Profit with Profit with a Plan podcast, and I have a treat for you today. My guest is going to be talking about generating leads from podcasting, right? How do you become the expert on stage from the comfort of your home with a microphone and bringing in a load of leads to your business? On today's Profit with a Plan with Neal DiPentino. Come join us. Hey entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Riner, known as the Profit Booster, and I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something great to share with you. Just my podcast audience is getting this. So do you want to supercharge your business, avoid profit plateaus and operational headaches? How about growth roadblocks? I've created a brand new Profit Booster playbook just for you. You'll uncover 5 essential strategies and a quick way to take action on them. Now, this is not just a single-page report. It's a 25-page novella with impactful strategies, actionable steps, and expert guidance to elevate your profit. Make 2024 your best year ever. Go download this free playbook at boostingprofit.com. All right, so my guest today, I'm really excited. Neal DiPentino serves as the president of Titan Media Worx, Inc., and is the host of his own podcast, Business Breakthroughs Podcast, on Small Business Delivered Network. With over 4 decades of experience in high-level sales and marketing across various channels, Neal has collaborated with a diverse range of clients from small businesses to Fortune 500 companies. His expertise lies in helping businesses to optimize their marketing and advertising investment for maximum ROI. Neal excels in identifying untapped and underutilized resources within a company, emphasizing that all business processes the tools to thrive. He believes that many businesses face challenges and setbacks simply because they fail to recognize these tools or lack the knowledge to leverage the resources readily available to them. Neal also has the role of president, and Neal is an accomplished podcaster. Yay, fellow podcast host. His podcast content focuses on showcasing expertise of his guests while providing practical solutions and insights to empowering the audience in their business pursuits. So welcome, Neal, to Profit with a Plan podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Marcia, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So this is fun. I love it when 2 podcast hosts get together because this really just ups the game. You know exactly what to say and how to say it. I know exactly how to make you look great, and it just turns out to be a lot more fun than normal. So, but yeah. So how we talked a little bit before we got started on the podcast, but how in the world did podcasting kind of land in your lap from marketing?
Well, I have a radio background. I started in radio back, like 1982, I believe it was. Small radio station, Gallup, New Mexico. I was the morning show host. Back then it was kind of interesting because when I got the job, before I got the job, I should say, they asked me, if I had any other skills, and I'm like, well, yeah, what skills are you looking for? He said, well, in small market radio, you do everything. So here, if you want to do a show, that's great. We'd love to have you, but you're going to have to do something else. How about sales? You ever done sales? I'm like, sure, I have. Absolutely, I can sell. I had never sold a stick of anything in my life, So I got the job. On my way back home, I was driving from back to Denver, where I was living at the time, and I stopped. I bought a book on how to sell. And within a couple of years, I was actually the sales manager for the radio station, and kind of transitioned from radio into sales. So it was about 40 years really before I was ever back in front of a microphone, at least on my side of the desk. I've been on shows like yours in the past over the years, but I kind of feel like I've kind of come full circle. It's something I really had a passion for, and now here I am. I'm back, kind of doing this what I started out to do, what I thought I was like destined to do, I guess, at some point.
I love it. I love it. And that cheesy radio voice is nowhere nearby. So it's great to have you on. It's funny. I would have thought you were in sales and then fell into podcasting, but you started on the radio and transitioned to sales and then came back. So I love the idea, the full circle. But what's really, I think, valuable about your skill set is that you're taking a platform like podcasting and you're able to monetize it effectively because you're able to produce something that actually generates the leads, which is the number one problem just about every business has, right?
Right. Oh, exactly. And that's kind of how this business started. The original name of the business was Titan Digital, Titan Web Marketing and Titan Digital. It was owned by my partner, Cash Miller. And podcasting became a kind of a product that they did two things. They actually used it as a lead generation tool, but also sold the product, the production part of it, and that type of thing. I was actually the first guest on Cash's show, Marketing Masters, and a little bit later he asked me if I would be interested in maybe being a guest host, helping him out. He needed a little bit of vacation. He's been like pumping out all these podcasts, so I said sure. And I hadn't been in front of a microphone for a really long time, so to be honest with you, I was kind of nervous. I was scared, is what I was. But once I kind of got behind the mic, kind of fell back into it. I started having some fun with it. I met some really incredible people doing the guest thing. And then I thought I was done. I was like, well, this is great. It's been fun. Let's move on.
Check.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I'm like, I'm retirement age. I was thinking very much about retiring, but really didn't know what I wanted to do because I don't golf. I don't fish. So what am I do? Sit at home. Right. So, out of the blue, Cash called me, said, look, we really like what you were doing. Would you be interested in doing your own show? We'll call it Business Breakthroughs. And you're going to interview business coaches and find out what they've got going on, how they deal with their clients, and, kind of their philosophy in business and that type of thing. And so I said, sure. So I gave it a try. And as I was doing it, I was just kind of fell in love with just podcasting and the people that I met. You get to be my age and you kind of think you know everything, and then you realize just how much you really don't know when you start talking to other people. And so plus the people I was connecting with, I mean, were a lot of them became friends. In fact, we stay in touch after the podcast. I've actually been invited to stay in their homes on vacation and stuff. And I'm like, this is great. This is really wonderful. But during that time, all of a sudden we started bringing in all kinds of leads and for the business for Titan Digital. And that was about that time I went to Cash and I said, I really like this business model. Is there any way that you would consider, making it its own entity, breaking away from Titan Digital, and let's make it its own company. If you are interested, I'll invest in it and I'll participate. And so after some thought, he agreed, and we formed Titan Media Worx. We started off with just Cash, myself, and our production manager, and now we have 13 people who are working for us. We've got all kinds of people that we do podcast production for. We also have a booking service, so we're helping people get on shows like yours. In fact, one of our clients was actually on one of your shows here recently, and so the whole idea of using it for a lead generation tool just kind of, it really panned out.
I love it. I love it. And it is, for me, it's been a labor of love. I just started my 5th year this year in 2024, and it's been like, wow, I can't believe I've stuck with it. But what I've found is that I meet fantastic people that really help me shift my thoughts, improve the way I'm thinking. It helps my customers. It helps me. And it's been a very comfortable place to be in front of the camera and talk on the microphone and have that kind of experience. So I've just loved it. But I think what, I get commonly asked with is, how do you monetize it, right? I can talk and share and be wonderful and all that kind of stuff, but unless I'm actually pulling in more subscribers, and then what do I do with them once they hear me, right? I've got to have some sort of strategy. And I think that's where you guys come in and your sales expertise comes in to be able to really drive that for people that are on the show and make it worth their time and effort.
Absolutely. Our philosophy is that you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of listeners in order to be profitable or to make it a profitable venture. You just have to have a certain amount of the right people. And for us, as a lead generation tool, we provide a production service. We provide the booking service. So for us, it's a great way for us to, do a podcast with somebody and then have that conversation either before or after when we're just sitting off the recording's done. But for a person who's on our show, for them, it does two things. Number one, it helps to create a connection. If you don't create a connection in sales, you cannot sell anything. If I don't introduce myself and we don't connect and you don't like me, the conversation's over. So what the podcast does is it basically starts that. At first, it creates that connection. We always ask our guests to talk a little bit about themselves first before they start jumping into the business. If you're face to face with somebody doing a pitch, you're not going to just jump right into the pitch before you introduce yourself or find out who else is around the table, that type of thing. Maybe have a little talk about, grandkids or vacations or this or that. So that gives us an opportunity. We talk a little bit about that. And then they are able to kind of jump into business and show their expertise. And it's not a pitch. It is basically continuing that connection where they are doing, I guess, for lack of a better term, a light pitch on their program, what their product is, what they're doing. So I deal with a lot of business coaches. Okay. So they provide a lot of great content for our shows because these are generally people who have been in the corporate world. For whatever reason, they've either decided to get out of the corporate world, go out on their own. Maybe they retired, maybe they're sick of like the grind, but they find that coaching is something that works, really well for them. So now
And
we're
it's a
able to.
hugely growing market. It's up in the billions.
It's incredible. And there's all kinds of coaches too. I mean, it's like, I actually went on chat GPT and asked them to give me a list of all the coaches that that are out there in terms of business, and it just kept coming and coming and coming and coming and coming.
Wow.
And it's just amazing how many there are. And frankly, I've interviewed a lot of different types of people, everybody from executive coaches to management coaches to HR people. I just had an economist on my show here this morning. So there are all kinds of different kinds of people. But what it does, again, kind of getting back to what I was saying, it gives them a chance to kind of show their expertise, talk a little bit about, what they do without, blasting it down somebody's face. And then at the end of the show, we give them, we tell them how to get in contact with people. And it just seems to work. The results have been really good because we've had people come back to us and say, look, I saw this guy on your show. He has a service that I needed. I didn't know where to get it. So I contacted him and now, we're doing business together. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic. But I think it's wonderful to have a niche on coaches and that kind of thing. But I think everybody, when they're in business, they have an expertise, right? They're doing something, whether it's, gosh, anything from selling real estate to, attorneys, to plumbers, to HVAC, to the retail company that's selling these great new shoes or whatever it is. I think anybody can use the power of podcasting to get their message out there and have it with the same relaxed rhythm of a show of allowing someone to introduce themselves and then really highlight their expertise. And I think that's, as a show is an incredible tool, and it's totally repurposable, right? I mean, I could take this and cut it and chop it and put it on my website and send it to, prospects and everything else from there. So I think as a tool for sales, it's right up there at the top.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you kind of take, we should do presentations, we type them out, and we, print them out and do all that. And then we kind of, transitioned into PowerPoints and all those kind of things. And, we take it into an office someplace and, generally something would go wrong, so you couldn't get a connection or whatever the case might be. But it also, and that was fine. I mean, all that kind of stuff kind of happens, but also it took time to generate all that kind of stuff. When we're having a conversation with somebody, we're generating content through the podcast. And just like you just said, you can take snippets of that. You can put it into a format that when you sit down, if you're either doing an online type of pitch with somebody, or if you're in their office, you can just show them that those snippets, kind of put them all together. And now all of a sudden it takes the place of that PowerPoint. It takes the place of those, that those brochures that you spent tons of money on printing out, all those type of things. So it really is a great tool.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so we've talked about the tool from using the podcast as maybe a product of your marketing piece or your sales in your sales channel, right? To be able to possibly even deliver it as a warm up to you showing up, so that your prospect has a little bit more knowledge about you. But how do we use it in a way to reach people that we haven't met yet?
Well, I mean, with our podcast, we actually distribute the podcast on all the various streaming services. So we are on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on iHeartRadio. I think there's like a dozen different audio services that we put the podcast out on. Then also we do audio video, and that goes on YouTube. So we take advantage of these large audiences that you can build through those platforms, especially YouTube, because YouTube, owned by Google. I mean, we can, without spending a whole lot of money, we could actually get a lot of traction on YouTube. If we want to put a little money behind it, we'll even get more, so, and the beautiful thing about podcasting too, is that, business people who are interested in the subject matter that you're presenting to them, it's mobile. They can listen to it anytime they want, either driving into the office while they're, on the elliptical, or whatever the case might be, at the gym, while they're sitting in their office. I listen to podcasts all day while I'm sitting there. I like to listen to them for a different reason. Now I want to hear what everybody else is doing, so I can kind of get some ideas for myself.
Sure.
But I mean, you are reaching out to a much broader audience by doing that. Now, what we do also is we have a network called Small Business Delivered. It's a website where that's where a lot of our podcasts, all of our podcasts live. So we have multiple podcasters that work for us internally. We have, I believe right now, 9 shows that we're producing that are internal.
Wow.
And then we do podcasting service for others. So anybody who is a client of Titan Media Works will put their podcast on that network, and we put money and energy behind that network too. So not only are you getting the benefit of all the different services I mentioned, now you have it on the website. And one of the things that we're really good at, because this is where we started, is getting traffic to a website. So that Small Business Delivered is like killing it right now.
I bet. And I think that's it. When we're out there as business owners and we're trying to reach our ideal client, right? What better way through content that is searchable on Google and YouTube and all these channels that are out there? And then I think it also even creates a whole bunch of, backlinks to strengthen everything, because you've got all these video pieces. It's not a one and done, right? I mean, it's a wash, rinse, and repeat type of process that you're doing. And if you can get on more and more shows, you get more and more exposure that way, and more of those backlinks and more of those pieces that help elevate the website, right? I mean, isn't that the basic concept of it, with a whole bunch of technical stuff that you all know and the secrets you all know to get it out there even better?
Well, there's little secrets that you can do that even if you don't know all the technical stuff. And you're absolutely right. The more shows that you can be on, the better. Now, remember that, most people, coaches, especially the people that I'm dealing with, I mean, they have small staffs, and their time is, it's limited, so, they don't have a whole lot of time to, do the podcast, do the production, do all that kind of stuff,
Exactly.
but they do have 20 minutes maybe, or 25 minutes, where they can have a conversation like this with somebody. And that's the service that we provide. We actually just let you be the superstar, do whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about. We coach you through, we help you with it. We help with the lighting, the audio, the whole 9 yards. And then from there, once you hit record, you do your thing, you hit stop, and we take it from there. We do everything. We do all the editing. We add all the intros, the exits, the little banners that go across that highlight certain things that you say. We take take snippets out and provide that to our clients so they can put it on their social. And then the one thing that we really do, I think that we do very, very well is everybody within our network, as I mentioned, there's like 13 podcasts we're doing. Every one of those podcaster promotes each other's podcast. So
Ah,
we're
fantastic.
just killing it that way. And then, by being on more shows, what that does is it brings more traffic back to you and gets you more noticed as well. So eventually, as time goes on, and nothing's overnight, everything takes time. But as time goes on, now all of a sudden people start recognizing you a little bit more. They see you're on Marcia's podcast. They want to hear what you have to say on Marcia's podcast because what they heard on Neal's podcast was pretty cool. So let's see what else they got to say. So it just kind of keeps building from there.
I love it. I love it. Is there any kind of um, is there any kind of SEO or keywords or things that we should be aware of when we're doing these podcasting? Should we go out and find the trend that it is? Like, everybody knows AI is, a whole new language, and it's becoming a verb, right? Like Google is a verb, but I think it's a verb. But I mean, is that what we should be chasing after, or should we stay in what we really truly know and just live on that platform kind of as a public speaker of sort?
I really think it just depends on the person. I mean, my background, really, to be honest with you, is not in dealing with business coaches. I've been more or less a consultant or a business coach to some extent, fractional CMO, if that's what you want to call them, for many, many, many years. But my expertise was really in advertising and marketing, and primarily focused on customer retention. So that's kind of where my thing was. The podcasting thing, I knew I could do it primarily. The reason why, how it was sold to me was like this: is like a lot of these guys, a lot of these people that you're going to be talking to have been in the corporate world. They're retired, they're old like you, so you'll get along really well with them. And I'm like, well, thanks for that. I
Well,
appreciate it.
thanks. How did you think I was old, right?
I know,
Isn't
I know.
60 the new 40? I mean, come on.
That's right. But I've actually had conversations with people like that who I've had some really super interesting people that I've talked to that, are my age or older. But you get to a point like you're at that retirement age, doesn't mean that you really want to retire. People know they learn a lot through the years, and they want to share what they know, and that's what makes
Right.
it really interesting. So for me, at first, it was kind of like, well, I'm not so sure if this is really for me. It's not really something that I've not worked with business coaches. I guess I am one, but I've not really worked with anybody like that before. But as I got into it, it started to be a fit. We've actually transitioned to other shows too. So we're getting ready to start I'm just getting ready to start a second show. It's going to be geared toward franchisees or franchisors, people who are looking to sell their franchise to potential people who maybe have gone through the same process working for corporate one out, and they want to do something else. They don't want to be coaches, but they want to buy into something that makes sense. So we've been, building on that for quite some time. And it does kind of fit with what I do because I've worked with a lot of franchises over the years.
Well, thanks for the little tease. I actually have one of those experts coming on my show in the near future. So I think they're
Nice.
fantastic opportunities, and learning about different things. And I love the idea that, whether you're close to retirement or not, you have something valuable that other people want to hear, right? And if it's tied to your business, even better. And through that, you get an opportunity to have somebody who may not have known you before gets a chance to hear you and gets a chance to connect with you, as you mentioned. And then if you've said the right things about business and the opportunities that you can help with, then maybe that's a warm up to get them into your social media, onto your email list, maybe eventually a phone call or a presentation or a webinar, whatever you're doing in your business to generate opportunities. They're one step closer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, they made the connection with you, and they know a little bit about you. Cold calling, for all intents and purposes, is dead.
Oh,
Okay.
it's
And even when
terrible.
it wasn't dead, it was hard,
It's
and
terrible.
back before, I mean, I was in it before caller ID, and it was tough back then, you know. But I mean, so you have to kind of you have to evolve, you have to look for new ways of doing things. And And there's obviously other social media is great. I love social media,
Long
LinkedIn, that
play.
type of thing. But it's like, people can scroll through and they can scroll to the next thing pretty quickly. But when you're on a podcast, when you catch somebody's interest and everything, generally you have them for the long haul. You have them for the length of that particular show. And if you're really good at what you're doing, you have good guests. And I by no means claim to be good at what I do, but I make up for that by having super good guests. I have people who are super interesting, who have a lot to offer to people and everything, and I let them pretty much tell their stories. And so now I've built a following because I have the right people on my show. So people will listen to the entire length of the show in general. Most of the time, sometimes not, but depending on what their day looks like. But then you kind of transition from that into like, hey, let's see what's next. And we like to give them a little bit of reminders too, to let them know what's next as well. So the people who follow us. So, so now all of a sudden you start building this audience of people that are like-minded. They're looking for the same thing you want. It's better than SEO in a sense, because now you've got people that that are super interested in what you've got going on, or else they wouldn't listen.
Love it. Love it. So now that we've got them listening, right? We're sharing our expertise. We've got them listening. We're on multiple podcasts. We're building up our exposure out there. How do I get them closer to me? Like, is there any known tricks? I mean, that podcasts have found as successful to bring somebody to that next level?
I can't speak for other shows, other hosts and that type of thing. I mean, because I don't know what everybody's goal is in their podcast. For me, just having the conversation before and after the podcast, that's gold right there. I can remember when I was in school, I probably learned more in the hallways during breaks with my professors than I did when I was in the classroom, because that's when they told you the real deal. That's when they got
Right.
down to the nitty gritty and told you really what was on their mind that they couldn't really talk about in the classroom, kind of the same type of thing. We have conversation. I had a guy on this morning I was talking to, and we hit it off. And, we never talked about business. We were talking about life. He was from Michigan. They just, and he was talking about the Wolverines, in the national championship. And we talked about his dad and his family and this and that. I talked about my family. And so we made that connection before we ever hit record. And then
Wow.
afterwards, he said, this was really a lot of fun. It's really interesting. So tell me about everything else you've got going on. So I tell this to everybody that works for me, is like, if you do your job right, you don't sell anybody. They sell themselves. So, and
I
that's
was
what happened.
thinking more along the lines of the listeners. So we can't go off camera with the listeners right away, but how do we get them to that next level so we can go off camera with the listeners? Thinking, is it our lead magnets, or is it a pick up a telephone call, or is it a banner ad? What kind of opportunity can a guest on a podcast use that really works on podcasts to get the listener to connect further with them?
I think some of the people that are guests on my show will use some kind of a lead magnet. They'll offer, some type of free, um, product or advice. Most of them are, because they're coaches, they offer some kind of free advice, maybe an assessment, that type of thing. We offer a free assessment, and we'll talk about that at the end too. But in most cases, it's really, I can't tell you that the lead magnet is necessary every single time, because a lot of the folks that I do talk with don't use a lead magnet. All I can tell you is that they, just the things that they say, the things that they do, and by providing their information to our audience at the end, it brings them business, and it
Nice.
has. Yeah, so we don't really have any kind of magic tool for that, and it's a little bit different, everybody that we speak with. So, and I know in this day and age, everybody wants a lead magnet, everybody wants an angle, and there's so much out there, so many things that so many claims that have been made that I can do this for you. I can, make you a millionaire, or you're
Right.
taking a shower, tying your shoes, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
We try to avoid that type of stuff. We want people who have been in the trenches, people who have lived it, and can give you real life examples. And if we've done our job and they've done their job through the years, when they tell those stories, that's enough to get people to reach out to them.
Love it. All right. Well, speaking of, so Neal, this has been really valuable. I know that the audience is now recognizing that you can produce leads out of being a podcast guest, or if you ever want to take the dive in the production and go through all that kind of stuff, there's an opportunity to be a podcast host. Always recommend be a guest first and get the flavor for it. And then when you do host it, ask for some help to get it right. There's no reason why you should, learn how to produce a podcast on your own. But Neal, where can listeners find out more about you? Because I know you do both. I know you help them get on the show. You help them, if they do choose to host, you can help them make a better show. So where can they find out more about you?
Well, to find out more about our business, you can go to titanmediaworks.com. Worx is spelled W-O-R-X, titanmediaworks.com. All of the information, we're 100% transparent. Everything about our company and what we do, how we do it, our pricing, the whole 9 yards is on the website. You can actually even schedule a meeting from there. You can sign up if you want to sign up. You can sign up right there on the website. To reach out to me, you can reach me at Neal, Neal, at DPA. I'm sorry, that's my old company. Neal at Titan Media Works. I know it. It's hard to forget them, but it's Neal at Titan Media Works. Again, Works spelled W-O-R-X at .com. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Neal
you did.
at TitanMediaWorks.com.
And it'll be in the podcast notes as well. So I always love to make sure that with the help of a little bit of AI to, stream through the podcast, put the highlights on there so the listeners can browse through the notes and make sure that this podcast, in case they didn't catch anything because they were driving, they can catch it in the notes as well. So that's always a lot of value.
One more thing, if you don't
Good.
mind,
Yeah.
if anybody's interested in our service and would like to learn more, we offer a free consultation. All I got to do is go to the website and click on make a call or call. And so we'll spend 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the case might be, with them explaining, depending on what service they want, and explain how it all works and everything, and go from there. Yeah.
I love it. And it's such a valuable tool to really take your status as an expert, whether again, your retail, business, whatever you're doing, you're still an expert at what you do. So this is a really powerful tool to help you do that. And I would encourage you to reach out to Neal to find out how you can make it a whole lot easier for you. Well, thanks, listeners. I hope you found a couple ideas today to put into your business that will help you be more profitable. And I know podcasting, coming from me and, going on to year 5, and from Neal and his life journey and podcasting and sales, this is a fantastic tool. And I know this would be of value to you. And as I mentioned before, if you want to supercharge your business, go download my new Profit Booster Playbook, packed with 5 profit building strategies and the actionable steps that you can use to make 2024 your most profitable year. Go grab it for free at boostingprofit.com. And Neal and I would love to hear your questions. Any ideas you have that you would think might be a good podcast, or what you could use as a topic, or maybe an experience or idea that you'd want to flesh out, reach out to us on the comments. Neal and I'll keep an eye out on the comments and respond back to you. And while you're at it, please subscribe. You don't want to miss next week's show. And you can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Neal.
Thank you.